All right. Welcome back to cmpradio.net, the voice of Chester, the wonderful world of Rich Blye, coming to you live every Monday at 7. Now, I know that for the past couple of moments that you did not see this lovely face, that there was no video. Sorry about that. I hope that you're still joining us. I want to quickly reiterate that the school violence in Upper Darby Township has been ongoing for 15 plus years. I want to reiterate the fact that Upper Darby Township has had serious problems with the behaviors of these children, and the video that I posted on my page yesterday is a small reflection of that. I want to reiterate that I've had conversations in the past before this has gotten to where it's gotten to be a participant, to participate with Upper Darby Township and its school district in order to be a positive role model and or volunteer for certain things, and that never came to fruition, even though that some of my ideas were put into the Upper Darby Rising program, and it was validated by the superintendent of the schools of Upper Darby Township. Again, folks, I'm a keen observer. I am not an expert. I never claimed to be an expert, but I am a keen observer of behaviors, patterns, and the way that people conduct themselves out here in this society. I don't interject myself into situations that I don't belong in, but I'm about the human condition, and I inject myself into that because I firmly believe, as I was raised and the way that people help me in life, that I need to pass it forward and push it forward. But also at the same time, I realize that we have people who are in certain positions who keep certain things from either happening or push things in a way that we have to deal with, whether it's through civil discourse, whether it's through action, whether it's through inaction, or whether it's just lending your voice in a way that inspires folks or challenges them to look at their moral center and realize that we do have common problems that take some common sense solutions. The activities that happened on Friday up at the Upper Darby High School that is on the video on my page was taken out of context by a lot of folks across this nation. There are several comments on several people's pages who have shared this, both in mixed communities, black communities, white communities, Hispanic communities. This has floated all across the United States and some other countries. Because, like I said, I have international people who are internationally on my page to see what's going on in our country, in our communities, and I'm looking at their communities, vice versa, to see what's going on over there because we have a shared common interest about humanity and life. So, what are we going to do as taxpayers when we have to deal with other people's children who consistently disrupt the process of learning and our children being educated in these systems that we're paying so much in taxes for? And we expect a return on our investment. We expect an ROI on our investment, and the children aren't cooperating. And I know some people say, oh, the police did this. They slammed the kid to the concrete. Did you not see that individual trying to beat another individual that was on the ground already over top of the cop? Who taught that? Who taught that behavior? That's the accountability part of the school violence. See, the police weren't there to stop a fight. They weren't there because, there was a violent thing going on with the students. They were there to actually protect and save lives because some beanhead called in a bomb threat. So that's the first thing where folks need to understand about Upper Darby policing. They weren't there to hurt those young people. They weren't there to body slam them on the ground. They weren't there to put them in cuffs. They thought that they had an incident where they may have to evacuate the building to save the lives of children, property, and the overall community, putting their lives at stake to ensure the safety of others. That's what they were there for. So we need to make sure that everybody calms down with these, oh, that's racist, that's what they did. No, that's not what they were there for. Now, they've been to the school for that. All last year, all the year before that, all the year before that. Of course, when the schools were closed down from COVID, they got a little bit of a reprieve. No, not really, because then they had to deal with, the riots and the smash and grabbing up at 69th Street in other areas. The home invasions that happened during this time. You don't hear about it now because no, we're back, out of these COVID restrictions, but all this stuff was going on. And then you see the age of the participants. What's the average age of the participants? 15, 16, 17. Then it jumps 19 to 25. Then it jumps 33, 37. Then it jumps 45, 55. This is a natural progression of youth who wasted it back in the day and still continued it further without stopping. No accountability. And then you have whole families, and we've seen it. The school's seen it, the teacher's seen it, everybody's seen it, that come up to the school, your child is wrong as two left shoes, and you cussing out teachers, you cussing out support staff. My child did. I'm not going to, get into the stereotypical phrase that goes along with already insulting black culture, but you insult yourselves when you allow this type of stuff to happen and then don't accept accountability for your child. I don't know what more to do. So with that being said, I'm going to get off that topic because it absolutely depresses me that I have to come on and talk about that type of stuff. I really want to come here and talk to you about some books. I'm so happy right now. You guys have no idea that holding this book right here and holding this book right here makes me absolutely happy. I've been talking about Robert Smalls ever since I started coming on cmpradio.net, the voice of Chester, and saying to people why his story isn't told. So bear with me, folks. It's reading time. The Escape of Robert Smalls, A Daring Voyage Out of Slavery, written by Johann Jones Radegowski and illustrated by Poppy Kang. On the evening of May 12, 1862, Charleston Harbor echoed with the sounds of dusk at the docks. Men murmured to one another as they retired from a long day's work. Crickets chirped, waters lapped against ships. But underneath the peaceful concert was the thump, thump, thump of Robert Smalls' racing heart. Robert Smalls was born into slavery. Enslaved people were considered the legal property of another person. Almost 4 million black people were enslaved at the time of the Civil War. They had no rights. They lived and worked in brutal conditions. They received no pay. The atmosphere was tensed on that dark, foggy evening. The Confederate Army was fighting against the Union Army. Southern Confederates wanted to secede from the United States. Slavery was legal in the South, and those states wanted to keep it. Union troops from the North fought to keep the U.S. together. The Union wanted to outlaw slavery. The Union Navy was blockading Charleston, South Carolina. Confederate ships forts, and soldiers were on guard. They were ready to protect the city from enemy attacks. Charles Blye was the captain of the Confederate steamship, the Planter. He decided to take a break for the night to go visit with his family. As on many other nights, Blye left Robert Smalls in charge. Why would a white captain leave this black man in charge of one of the most heavily fortified ships during the Civil War? You're about to find out. Captains were supposed to stay on their ships. They were expected to be ready to sail at a moment's notice. If Blye was caught, he could face a court-martial. He might lose command of his ship. Smalls saluted Blye and the other white officers as they left the Planter. Da, 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 da. Here's where it gets very intriguing, folks. Remember, Robert Smalls was a slave. That means he could not read or write. That means that a lot of people underestimated his brilliance because they viewed him as just a common slave. Smalls knew Charleston Harbor as well or better than anyone else. When he was 12 years old, Smalls was sent by his owner to look for a job in Charleston. He worked at the waterfront. While he was performing many different jobs for the boats, as he worked, Smalls carefully watched the crews and learned their responsibilities. He earned $16 a month, but most of it went to his master. Smalls negotiated with his master to keep a small amount for himself. In 1861, Smalls was hired as a crew member on the Planter. He quickly mastered skills such as line handling, knot tying, and getting underway. He learned how to secure ships at the docks with ropes and chains. These skills would help Smalls as he moved up the ranks. Smalls worked hard to memorize the ship routes. He learned there were hazards existing in the harbor, such as sandbars under the surface of the water. But because Smalls was enslaved, he was not recognized as the ship's pilot. But he performed the duties regularly. His highest position was wheelman. And as the wheelman, Smalls steered the ship. Here we go. There's more. On a typical night, Smalls would clean and organize the ship for the next day, but tonight was not a typical night. Smalls was preparing to carry out a dangerous plan. Smalls' crewmates said that he had gotten the idea to steal the Confederate steamship months before. Smalls had stood near the wheel of the steamship one day. One of his crewmen put a big straw hat on Smalls' head. Someone joked that he looked like the captain. Both men had short, stocky builds. They folded their arms in a similar manner. Adaptation, folks. Adaptation. Remember, he couldn't read, he couldn't write. He was illiterate. He was illiterate. Smalls began to carefully observe the captain at the helm. He took note of the captain's movements. He memorized the signals required to pass checkpoints. He studied how the captain moved his hands on the wheel. He copied the way he tilted his hat. He practiced until he was able to mimic the captain perfectly. What? Y'all don't want to make a movie out of this? Man, hold on. It gets better. On May 12, 1862, the captain had left his very hat and one of his uniforms on the ship. Around 3 a.m. on the 13th, Smalls donned the captain's uniform. He pulled the wide-brimmed straw hat low to his forehead. He was hunched over the wheel like the captain did. He was ready to put his training to use. The spring night sky was inky black. Fog filled the air. Seeing where the sky ended and the murky waters began was almost impossible. The conditions were perfect for Smalls' escape. Smalls and the rest of the crew were taking a big risk. They would steal a Confederate ship and sail it forward to the Union blockade. If it all went as planned, they would eventually enter Union territory. No person had done this before. They would pass armed forts where soldiers were on alert. They would risk their lives, all for the chance to be free. Smalls enlisted the help of the others enslaved crewmen. He planned to bring their families to freedom, but there was a great risk involved. Steamboats make lots of noise and smoke as they move through the water. Sneaking unnoticed past the forts would be impossible because they couldn't sneak. They had to boldly sail right past the Confederate noses. They had to sail past them. Here's a little small diagram. Okay, here's the banks of Charleston. You got Fort Johnson. You had Cummings Point Battery. You had Fort Sumter. You had Fort Moultrie. You had Castle Pinckney. So he had to go past at least 5 checkpoints. And there was all sorts of, people on the banks and soldiers on the banks and, small little boats and everything like that. There's always sentries posted. Like they said, this thing was armed to the teeth because here was the Union blockade, making sure nothing got in. But they also made sure that they kept them out. The planter would follow a 10-mile route. The beginning of the voyage would take place within the view of General Ripley's headquarters. General Ripley was the commander for Charleston. He was in charge of military vessels in the harbor. Then they would need to pass several Confederate forts. Soldiers with guns would be standing guard. They would be ready to shoot. Only when the planter passed those forts would they have a chance to enter Union-controlled waters. Smalls knew that they would need to act quickly once the planter approached the Union fleet. Union forces might mistake them for enemy soldiers and fire on them. There was danger on all sides. If caught by the Confederacy, Smalls and the other runaways would be punished harshly. The Confederates relied on the planter. It was used to transport personnel and supplies to the forts around the harbor. In fact, the planter had just been loaded with artillery the previous day. 200 pounds of ammunition were on board the ship, plus guns and cannons. The weapons were supposed to be delivered to forts on that day. The Confederate military would rather sink the planter than to see all those weapons land in enemy hands. Smalls would rather use the weaponry to fight to the death than allow himself to be captured. The families of the crewmen waited in secret at the North Atlantic Wharf. Smalls' wife and children were among them. They hid inside another boat at the wharf until the planter arrived. Years before, Smalls had tried to buy his family's freedom. At the time, he didn't have the money, but now he was enacting a new plan to gain their freedom. If he succeeded, the reward would be priceless. So he just didn't escape. The man went to go get his wife, his children, the wives, and the children of the crewmates too. There's about 19, 20 people in all. As the crew prepared to set sail, 2 of the crewmen became very frightened. Runaway slaves were often whipped. They could be sold into harsher conditions or even killed. The 2 men decided to leave the ship. The remaining 7 crew members worried. Would their departing crewmates give away their escape plan? But Smalls carried on. He ordered the crew to prepare for departure. They piled wood into a stove to boil water and produce steam. The steam created energy to move the boat. On deck, the crew hoisted the Confederate flag and the South Carolina flag to maintain their disguise. From what I understand from a different part of this story at that juncture, there was conversations to secured this ship and its cargo with the ammunition, but they didn't tell one of the people because he could not be trusted. So I'm going to kind of dispute that fact that two men got off the ship and decided to leave when history has told me that it was a plan and they had to trust some people and one of them couldn't be trusted, so they told him nothing. The planter set off towards the North Atlantic wharf, moving in a different direction from his typical route. Luckily, no one seemed to notice. The steamship paused at the wharf. The crew members' families sneaked off the boat they were hiding in and climbed aboard the planter. A total of 16 runaways were now on board. The steamer cranked, hissed, and whistled as it got underway. Every time it made a noise, the passengers held their breath. They prayed no one noticed anything suspicious. Smalls steered the boat towards Fort Johnson. It was the first of two heavily armed forts they would pass. The crew steeled themselves for whatever was to come. This is in South Carolina. This is Charleston Harbor, 1862. Fort Johnson was about 2 miles away on James Island. The planter crew, that distance felt like 2,000 miles. The fort had cannonball firing mortars and soldiers on guard. The soldiers were armed with guns. As the planter sailed close to Fort Johnson, the crewmen braced themselves for gunfire. They crouched themselves and covered their heads, waiting for the cannonballs to pound the ship. But the guards at Fort Johnson were tired. They noticed nothing out of the ordinary. The planter sailed past the fort safely. The crew quietly celebrated. Fort Johnson was their first big test. But as the planter sailed on, Small's crew noticed a Confederate guard boat ahead. The guard boat monitored activity in the area. The crew of the guard boat had no idea that the planter carried runaway slaves. Smalls remained calm. He stood in the small cabin atop the planter and saluted the other captain. Then he tugged the rope to sound the whistle as they passed. Smalls even shouted a greeting to the pilot. The planter crew had succeeded again. The biggest challenge still lay before them. The soldiers at Fort Sumter looked out for suspicious activity. They were instructed to destroy any enemy vessels. Fort Sumter was where the first shots of the Civil War had been fired 13 months before. This is where you get the movie glory. The fort was surrounded by walls that reached 50 feet above the water. Loaded cannons were all around. The planter was due to pass Fort Sumter at about 4 a.m. The hour was early enough that Smalls and his crew would still be disguised by the dusk. It would also be late enough in the morning that it wouldn't be suspicious. The soldiers would assume that the planter was setting out on his typical business route for the day. Up ahead, logs floated in the water, blocking the planter's path. Smalls had to steer the ship very close to the walls of Fort Sumter to avoid them. The people on board the planter held their breath, terrified. One person said he felt as though that he was a rabbit in front of a dog. Some of the crew fell to the deck. They were covered their heads, expecting cannon fire. Others stood still and grabbed hold of their pants to keep their hands from shaking. But not Robert Smalls. As the leader, Smalls knew that he must remain calm. As they approached Fort Sumter, he pulled the whistle cord. He mimicked the code that he had seen the captain use many times before. 2 long toots and 1 short one. The sentry on duty didn't see anything amiss with the planter. He yelled out the words of encouragement to Smalls, thinking he was part of the Confederacy, and let him pass. But minutes later, the soldiers noticed something unusual. The planter was going the wrong way. It was supposed to take supplies to Morris Island. Instead, the ship was sailing towards the Union fleet. Now the soldiers knew that something was wrong. They tried to fire on Smalls and his crew, but the steamer was too far. They signaled to Mars Island to fire, but those cannons were also out of firing range. The Confederate soldiers could do nothing but watch the planter sail towards the Union ships. The runaways finally let their shoulders drop. Some wept with relief. Others danced, prayed, and sang. But they quickly ended their celebration. Their dangerous journey was not over yet. Smalls knew that they could easily be mistaken for Confederate troops. He ordered that the Confederate and South Carolina flags be lowered as they approached the Union blockade. In their place, Smalls instructed his crew to raise a white bedsheet. This would signal their peaceful surrender. The Onward, a Union warship, sat ahead. The planter was headed directly for it. Aboard the Union ship, Captain John Frederick Nichols called out to his crew, "All hands to quarters." He planned to destroy the enemy ship before it could destroy his own. The fog had helped Smalls earlier, but it was not helping now. The morning haze made it difficult for the Union soldiers to see the white flag. They couldn't tell that the men on the board were not enemy soldiers. The onward crew could only see that there was a warship headed towards them. It was coming from enemy territory. Roughly 100 Union sailors on the Onward were now awake. They raced to their battle stations. The Union soldiers aimed their cannons towards the planter. They waited for Nichols to give the order. On the planter, Smalls and his crew screamed and cried out. They made it past the Confederate forts but were about to be killed by the Union Navy. The men, women, and children huddled together on the deck and prayed. Just as Nichols was about to command his crew to attack, he caught a glimpse of the white flag through the fog. He ordered his men to stand down. The wheelmen steered the planter alongside the Onward. Small shouted, "Good morning, sir. I have brought you some of the old United States guns, sir." For a few moments, the planter's crew was frozen. Then it hit them. They were out of danger. Joy broke out amongst the crew and the passengers. "Hallelujah," one of the women shouted. A group of men jumped around and danced. A child who had fallen asleep during the adventure woke to happy shouts and songs of merriment. Smalls looked over to the exuberant crew and smiled. His heart beat loudly and proudly. He had done it. Freedom at last. This is Robert Smalls. When I speak and when I talk about my culture, it's not just my family. When I read this story, my father introduced me to this man and his history of being an illiterate, being told he was less than nothing, pulled off one of the greatest naval exercises in espionage, unwittingly became an agent by self-study, by observation, had a plan, included his community in the plan, executed the plan. This is what I like to think of myself when we talk about history and having heroes, besides the ones that are in my home or some of the ones that I had in my home, or my ancestors before me. So when I talk about Robert Smalls, and when you see these books and I start talking about it, this is the place where it comes from. He was a young man at the age of 19 who successfully rescued 15 other people who helped the Union get back their own weapons. And after all of that, he returned to South Carolina and brought his former slaveholders home. He became a politician and he served in the House of Representatives. He was a retired U.S. congressman and a U.S. Navy captain. But his greatest testimony was gaining freedom for himself and his family against all odds. we have to understand that when we tell our stories and we tell our stories of strength, that they have to have a certain context for our children. So these books are available, of course, on Amazon if you choose to go get them. They're easy readers. This is a 3-book series. One is pretty much elementary. There's another one that's pretty much intermediate that has a lot more context to it. If you have a junior high school child and you're looking to give them something that is uplifting, that captivates and does tell the story of slavery and freedom and daring do and accomplishments and basically national recognition, Robert Smalls is your man. Robert Smalls is your Black American hero. Your Black American hero. Defiant is how he's described. Defiant. He had an attitude problem. He was compliant. He worked well with others, only to find out how he could justify the end to a means, the means to an end, which was his freedom. To free himself and then to become educated. See, he didn't just free himself and just go, hey, let me go get some land and, go sit somewhere. He says, send me back down there, coach. I know where they all at. I know where they hiding at. I know where all the secret places are. I know where all the sandbars are and all the rough water edges. I know how many times they going to do this because they ain't going to change nothing because they think I'm a functional illiterate. I can show you everything about how to destroy my enemy. And that's what he did. All that whipping, all that suffering, all that stuff that he went through, he gave that energy back to his natural oppressors. In spades. Excuse my pun, but he did. And then he went on to serve this country as a statesman. They just put a statue of this man down in South Carolina last year. Just did it. Here's one of the most important Black Americans in the history of naval battle who did the impossible that nobody on the Union side could think could be done and nobody on the Confederate side thought that anybody would dare to do. But we all know why. The world does not want you to hear about this black man. We all know why. Because it would invoke a sense of pride. Because if you taught from an experience of people that feel as though that they're oppressed and try to give them something that they can relate to with strength instead of victimhood, then they would change their course. This is why school violence happens. And this is why when people want to get involved that they can't, because they can't share an experience of helping our youth understand their strength and where it comes from and how they can apply it to adapt to get out of these places. You don't want flawed individuals. You don't want people that understand how it feels to be oppressed for real. I tell folks, I just turned 58. Desegregation, I'm from that era. I'm a deseg kid. I know, when people start talking about racism, sometimes I have to laugh. I know my elders know about racism. I don't dispute the racism that my elders have gone through. Anybody that's older than me that have lived during these times and circumstances, I don't doubt that they know that they don't know about racism. I never dispute that. I never dispute Jim Crow. I never dispute the fact that these things happen, that redlining happened. I don't dispute any of that. I talk firmly about what happened to my family in North Carolina. We were part of redlining. Our land was taken from us, part of it. It was. It's in the history books. It's in the history books of North Carolina, which is why the politicians down there won't talk to me either, because they know I know the truth. They don't want to have this conversation with me based upon the evidence that I have in North Carolina. They don't answer my emails. They don't return my calls. So to the folks in North Carolina, to the folks that own land and all that type of stuff, please go and get a mineral rights survey done on your land and make sure you get the mineral rights to your land. I'm giving you something that you better know. Make sure you go and do and get mineral rights to your land, because they will come and take it from you. This world is about control now. It is not about a D and an R. It's about control. This world has lost its sense of value for life, especially here in the United States. Are you guys not paying attention what's happening in Milan? Because somebody doesn't want to recognize somebody in their own country, now they're going to destroy that country that they're in? Is this the plight that we're about to do, where we're going to destroy our own infrastructure because somebody else wants to, come and take and not give anything back? When I see people protesting for a cause, one of the things that gives me pause before I decide to lend support to is that I look at the history of those people and see if they've done anything in my community first. If that answer is no, I'll still meet, but I'm going to meet with a certain skepticism, because you want something from me, but you're not willing to give anything in return. So I'm very skeptical about folks who come and say and join me and be a part of what I'm doing and what I got going on. Again, I look you up first. I see what you got going on, see what you've done in your past and stuff like that. And then I make a decision, because when I give somebody any part of me, or if I represent for an organization, you're getting 100% of the best part of what we have. I'm going to give you that energy. I'm going to give you that commitment. I'm going to show up on time. I'm going to take orders. I'm going to understand what I have to do, what's in front of me. If I'm put into a leadership role, you don't have to give me a script. Just give me the title. And I believe that that's who we are supposed to be as men. Again, for a lot of other men and women out here that hear the sound of my voice, I'm a seasoned vet when it comes to this. I'm seasoned. I don't display the emotions that people expect me to display when I'm talking plainly and matter-of-factly about the essence of why we have these issues in our community, because we fail to teach the richness of our history, not from a victimization point, but from a successful point. These children need to hear more success, more success, more success. We need to build that esteem. One of the things that I love about cmpradio.net is that I see owner-producer John Bear involving his children in his dream vision. And I just wanted to compliment him for that, because that's some of the coolest things that you can see, that your children take an interest in what your life is. That's one of the coolest things ever. And then for them to say, I want to be a part of it. You know what I mean? Like, that's not coaxing. That's not, oh, you got to come on the radio and do this. It's really looking at my dad work. You know what I mean? Look at my dad working, and then say, can I do something? And it's like, sure, do what you need to do. And now when I wake up in the morning and I see beautiful, not saying you beautiful, bro, but when I, you know what I mean? For the past couple of days, I was like, man, okay. Hey, here go the girls. Hey, go ahead. And just to hear the melody, like right. The melody of their voices, bro. Right. It's a very, and I'm going to say this to shout out to a lot of people that are involving our youth. Right. Okay. I'm not here to just be critical about it in Upper Darby. I want the same thing that's happening in Chester right. to come to Upper Darby. Absolutely. I want every organization to try to band together to really have our school district and our council to put their egos to the side and let us friggin' help them.
That's hard.
Bro, listen.
You have to create an inward push outward, right? It has to happen mm-hmm. inside.
Bro, they have this. I'm saying they have this alliance called the UD Alliance in Upper Darby. It's this alliance. I get the emails still. I probably won't get them after today. We've gone to a couple of these things to talk about how we can do stuff. And again, like I said, I'm not knocking anybody's organization, but they don't want us.
They don't want who?
Us,
Black
brother.
You don't say not African American, blacks.
Yeah, they don't want us.
And in Upper Darby Alliance is what? A multicultural.
Yeah. Yeah.
Have you ever I don't know. Try to sell your culture as
bro? The very first thing I did was sell my culture.
Right.
Like I said, the very first thing that I did before anything became political, and before anything became personal.
Right.
Okay. The very first thing I did was come to my council meeting and say, "Hey, I'm not born and raised in Upper Darby. I don't know my government. I don't know my public officials. I don't know, but I understand politics. Right. I understand how it works. Right. I would like for you to consider me as an adopted son of Upper Darby Township so that way I can learn more about where I live as opposed to where I came from." This is on public record. Right. Okay? This is on public record. I understand people when they're in front of me. I have a great understanding of others.
You do.
So I knew that I just didn't come in, "Oh, y'all ain't teach me nothing. And why y'all doing this?" I didn't come in accusatory. Right. I came in asking. Right. So, a couple of people talked to me, blah, blah, blah. At the time, I had a good relationship with the then elected 6th district council person. I had a good relationship with him. He came to my door, knocked on my door, and was like, "Hey, I need you to vote for me." I said, "Hey, I'll vote for you. I believe that, anybody that comes here and is naturalized citizen, you want to test yourself, blah, 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 as long as you're for the people." But I gave him a warning. I said, "Listen, you asking for my vote. I appreciate that. You're the first politician to ever knock on my door." I said, "But let me explain something to you. If you don't do your job,
I'm coming for you.
I'm coming."
That's a part of being
public servant. Yeah, and I told him in front of the two women that brought him there, and then council members Sakella Coles and Lisa Faraya. Okay, they were already on council. They were trying to get him elected, right? But I said it in front of all three of them, and I meant it. So when things didn't happen, the first thing I started doing was questioning the person that I voted for that knocked on my door. Right. I started questioning him. Right. Then I get accused of this. I get accused of that.
Accused of what?
I get accused of being an Islamophobe, even though that I have two daughters that are Muslim. I have a sister that's Muslim. Right. You know what I mean? I have never once in my life degraded anybody in their garb. Right. I've never once, interrupted. I just went over to the masjid for the first time. Right. Where I was invited to eat, where I was treated with respect. Yes. You know what I'm saying? Yes. People didn't know me. They knew I wasn't Muslim the way that I carried myself, but I got to eat. Right. Even though I had to go help a man bury his father, I was still there, which is something that's rare, but it was open.
No judgment. Crazy.
It was open. It was open.
Crazy.
Not one time did I feel any discomfort or I felt as though that they were looking at me a different way. And I know some people there, they saw me. Oh, I know who this dude is. Right. But not that it wasn't that time. Not that it wasn't that place. It's the fact that I know that they looked at me at the point of respect that I was fearless enough to come into these places. Right. That's how I am.
I mean, you have to be fearless.
You
can talk about somebody. Like, my thing is, you're not trying to talk about people to badmouth them, right? You're talking about their lack of doing their job, right? If you're not doing your job correctly, I'm going to bring you questions to help you do your job a little bit better, right?
Well, yes. It's not so much that I'm bringing the questions, because more times than not, it's people that contact me.
Right, but you're still walking up and talking with the microphone in your hand. You're bringing the questions.
I'm bringing the question because there are a lot of folks.
You accepted that role. Just chalk it up.
I accepted that role because there are a lot of elderly people that still live in our black community. Right. Okay. Some have moved out. Patty, I miss you. Miss you. I miss you, Patty. I miss Buddy too. My birthday twin. These folks had to go. Right. They had to leave. They had to leave their homes. They had to leave lifestyles that they built.
Why?
You got kids. You got kids right on their block, next door neighbors smashing in their cars. Hold on, you know who they are. Right. You had a person that was defending themselves against somebody beating up a family member, and that person got taken to jail because the kid was a minor. But he was sitting up there trying to beat the hell out of somebody, trying to, you know what I mean? He's bigger. Like, these kids are big.
Call the cops.
Call the cops.
Yeah. That's what I'm
gonna say this again. I'm gonna say this again.
That's what they're telling. I don't agree with that.
I had to tell a police officer in Philly. I knew he was a rookie, and I felt this pain because he was short. Right. But he's trying to tell me that if I was being attacked by 3 people, he's the first responder and he's coming to help save my life. I said, dude, let me explain this to you. If I'm being attacked by 3 people, I'm the first responder. I said, I'm going to tell you right now, as a person who's been in that position before, if 3 people are coming after me, the first one's gone. I'm not hesitating. I'm not. I mean, in all seriousness, folks, if I'm being attacked by 3 people, I'm taking the first one. First one's going somehow, some way. First one's going. The third person might run after seeing the first person go. They're not going to worry about the second person. But that's how I am, man. I kid you not. And like I said, folks, I'm not the toughest guy, right, but I know that I'm the first responder when it comes to saving my life.
Absolutely.
I know it because, again, I am a survivor of an attempted murder. And that's my position.
Right.
I've been there before. I promise you.
It won't happen again.
Nobody will never get that close again, bro.
Right.
Never.
I don't blame you.
Never. Unless I invite you into my space, right, please don't. Please don't. People will tell you, bro. I ain't gonna say it.
Right.
I ain't gonna say it. Right. But here we go. Here's the thing. So when I started going to the Sikh celebrations, the Sikhs are the ones with the turbans.
The turbans, yeah.
Okay, and they are predominantly Christian.
Right.
When I started going to the Bangladesh ceremony, before they moved into their masjid on 69th Street, they had a building up on Market Street.
Right.
And I was one of their first people invited to speak.
Right.
People forget this. This is back in 2017.
Right.
I'm invited to speak. I get there and I speak about unity. I get there and talk about sharing of culture. I thank them for personally inviting me and allowing me to speak as a representative of my community.
Right.
So it's never been a thing where I hate.
Right.
I literally came in with open arms. I literally came in with my eyes wide open, my mouth shut, and my ears open to receive other people's cultures that I did not know about, to understand the environment that I lived in. This didn't start off with, Rick Blye, you got to open his big mouth or whatever. I went there, I looked at what they did, I wrote down what I saw great. I went back and had a plan, and I said, you know what? Why don't we as Black Americans have these type of celebrations? Why are we not showing the positiveness of our culture? Everybody got problems. Everybody got issues. Everybody got issues all around the world.
Everybody.
But here are all these other communities showing the world solidarity, commercing, having a good time without it being gunplay. You know what I mean? None of that. Like, who goes over during a game and shoots a man 5 times, bro?
Somebody that doesn't like themselves. And this is the problem, Rich. Like, we're trying to solve gun violence when you should be solving self-love. Why don't we love ourselves enough? Because all the people that were out there, the children, the grown adults that you affected by going over there and killing somebody, bro.
In broad daylight.
And it wasn't, I can't say I know what it was about. And I told you about that. I don't do that. I don't try to assume, right? But it brings me to that point where you try to figure out, like, what could have possibly happened for you to do that at that point? Because listen, this is 2 things that could have happened. Man, you could have followed him when he left.
Yep.
You could have waited for him to get in his car and followed him home. You could have followed him when he went to Wawa, to the store.
Yep.
You could have followed him when he came out the house the next morning. Yep. Why do that? up there.
He wanted to send a message.
So he sent this message.
He sent this message.
And now he has to wait for the message to be sent back.
I know, but here's the thing. Collateral damage.
Oh, yeah. Definitely affected
collateral damage.
The man's son was there. The man's mother was there.
Collateral damage.
She performed CPR on him. My thing is, at a football field, there should be no reason why the ambulance ain't there to get rush one of the kids to the hospital if something was to happen. So why wasn't the ambulance there?
Because you have to pay for that service, bro.
That shit should be offered for the fuck free.
You have to pay for that service.
That's bullshit.
I know, isn't it? Isn't it? Hold on. Again, hold on. Watch this. Again. You people do not love these children, bro.
People don't love them.
They don't. And this is why when we speak and we talk this way as men, and we bring these issues to the surface, and people say, they angry again. You damn right we're angry.
Absolutely.
Because we are tired. We are tired. We're tired of being overlooked.
Mm-hmm.
We're tired of being shunned. We're tired of being categorized. We're tired of being told that we're not good enough for you. We're not good enough for the people that represent you. We're not good enough for this person. We're not good enough for that person, blah, blah, blah. But what Chester did show everybody is that everybody they felt as though wasn't good enough was successful. Everybody that put their best foot forward and making sure that the children of Chester were taken care of, even people that people didn't like, because I see all the back and forth. You know what I mean? It's kind of mildly entertaining, but once again, all I saw was regular people caring. But again, like I'm telling P folks, I didn't start off with being confrontational or controversial or being anti this or being against that. I'm not going to go up to somebody and say, hey, I'm doing this for the community, blah, blah, blah. Lend me your support or give me money or follow me, blah, blah, blah. And I'm not producing any work. I took your money and I put it in my pocket. And I didn't do anything in the community. So when people say, vote for this person, they're going to change on the school board, they're going to change in council. First of all of these people that are running are young, and yes, they are of age to run, but none of them have any children. None of them have a mortgage. None of them have any of the adult responsibilities of an adult. And I'm going to say this with emphasis. How can you expect someone to relate to you when they don't have a shared experience about the struggle that you've been through or what puts you in these positions that you're now comfortable in, and people want change because they're younger, as if because we're older that we're now dead and we got nothing else to live for. We still got to pay the same bills at the same 3% increase for these data centers that are coming in. That's what you're paying for, folks. That rent increase isn't because they got to charge up the grid and put more infrastructure in. What they're doing is that these data centers that's going to run your lives through your phones, your iPhones, your Androids, and everything like that. These data centers are going up really quick, especially off of I-76, especially off of Route 13. All of these data centers are going up, and they are charging you for the installations. You don't believe me? Okay, I don't care. I'm just telling you, it's the truth. This is what you're being charged at the wazoo. Those data centers also are going to have the Wi-Fi capability of tracking your biometric signature. Yep. So while we're sitting up here and rewarding this and caping for that and doing this, in our culture, there's a regression. And what I saw was, hey, why are we not celebrating the history of us? Why are we not celebrating the truth of us? Why are we not celebrating things that allow us to show people in their best light? Again, when I learned about Juneteenth, Miss Sylvia Myers is who I learned it from, about how to put on a celebration. And I want everybody to understand, I did not do it the way that she did it. I looked on when I came here to Chester and saw how magnificent her Juneteenth program was. I did take notes. I did study how to put a celebration on. And then I went my own route. And I held a celebration for Juneteenth that was unlike Ms. Myers and the incredible work that she has done. I absolutely, again, will salute those that put me in a position to do and be the way that I am with respect. I'm not the end all to be all. I'm not the first person to have done it. I'm just one of the first black men to stand up for it. I'm just one of the black men that got told, all this black stuff you keep talking about. You keep talking about all this black stuff. You keep talking about all this black stuff. Can't talk about no Chinese stuff. I can't talk about any Italian stuff. I can't talk about any Jewish stuff. I can't talk about those things. I understand some things. But when you're promoting the best of yourself, I'm promoting the best of my culture, what I learned, what I experienced, what I've been given, what I want to give, what I want to give back. Robert Smalls wasn't illiterate. He was looked over. He was not part on anybody's radar. He was unassuming. But he was a man with a plan. He was an intelligent individual. People judged a book by its cover. They didn't realize that he had the capability and the want and the need at the same time to be free from the bondage that he was under with his family, and then educated himself. People say, what are the instances of getting to a comfortable dialogue to ending this school violence with the children? Yeah, you need home assessments. You need home assessments. You need people to literally go to the house of your problem child in your school, take a school security officer with you so it looks official, take a counselor or a social worker up to that house, go in, sit down if you can, look around that house, look at the behaviors and the patterns of the environment of that home, and you will get your assessment as to the mental state of that child. That was the first thing that I said that needs to be done in Upper Darby Township. You need to do home assessments. Oh, we do those, no. If you really did home assessments, then you would have a plan and a course of action for those that are the most disruptive or cause you the biggest problems. It's time to separate that. If we truly want our children to be educated, we should not be in the business of just discipline with education. It's education, education, education. And then if we have to deal with discipline, you go over there. I firmly believe that some of you parents need to be arrested. I do. I think that some of these parents that have these dysfunctions and continually perpetuate this stereotype of recklessness and lawlessness in our schools and in our community need to get a dose of being locked up for a minute so you can get your kids under control. I think it's becoming to be that desperate that we have to ask and require people to follow the law just so we can have decency for our kids to be educated. Right now, again, I'm dealing with children that I transport to school. And in the several weeks that I've been transporting kids to school, I see the behavioral differences when these kids get in the car because I know what type of families that they come from. They come from families that have a lot of respect. They come from 2-parent homes. They come from a single parent home. They come from whatever. But these kids, I know the parents, because I guarantee you if your child was disrespectful, they ain't getting in my car. I promise you that. I will stop the car and kick your kid out. Yeah, well, yes, try me. Let some kid try me in my back seat of my car. That kid getting kicked out. I'll give you the GPS location. I'll give you the GPS location. I'm not worried about that. But I see the difference in the behavior already. I see some of the mouthiness. I see some of the talk backativeness that are coming from these children who normally did not behave that way because now they're exposed to a different environment other than home. And these, I call them spirits, are now invading your child's life, and it's starting at the elementary level, second grade. Second grade. I'm standing in schoolyards where I see some of the behaviors of some of these elementary school children. I see some of the parents, how they're dressed. Listen, I know I can't tell you how to dress, ladies. I ain't trying to. But, do me a favor. Everybody don't want to see your belly. Seriously. No, it's still school. You still a mom. Present yourself. A father came up today. This bull had on a A shirt, aka wife beater, some broke down Timberlands, and a jacket with some shorts. And he, like I said, come out the car chiefing, pulling his kid out the car. Really, dude? You can't wait until your child goes to school to do everything that you're doing right now on the ride back home or the ride in. You got to do that. But, again, I can't say nothing to it, but I got to observe this. So when I observe this and I see the patterns of behavior from another family coming into a larger social environment, and I know that these children do have to play together, they do have to get along together, things of that nature, but I see some of the influence from other people's environment coming into families, and they're saying what's going on. So as a keen observer, I make sure that as I take these children back to their various destinations, that they understand what I see as a parent, because I have a value in what I'm doing. I have a value in helping people. I have a value in assessing people because I've done this professionally. I've done this in the hiring process. I've done this for evaluations for a number of years. So this is not foreign to me to be able to make a determination based upon the attitude, the environment, the intelligence level, and the social skill of a person in order to effectively put them in the proper category of where they are, where they belong, what work can they perform, what work can't they perform, how do I have to change my language to talk to certain people? Do I have to bring it down to where their level is for understanding? Do I have to raise my standard up in order to understand people that are above me? That adaptability is what makes us. Or the rules shouldn't be so stringent that I got to be this type of man in order to be respected by this type of group. You gonna respect me, period. Just like I'm gonna respect you. It ain't got nothing to do with the color of your skin. It ain't got nothing to do whether you got letters in front of your name or behind your name. It ain't got nothing to do with how you want to identify yourself. It ain't got nothing to do with none of that. It's really going to be the type of person that you are, that you present yourself to me. I'm going to be straight up with you. This is what you get. You get a smile. You get a great handshake. You get great conversation. We get a good flow back and forth. But if you BSing me, I'm going to sniff that out. That I promise you, that's how I am. So when I tell people, hey, I'm always come to people correct, you got to come to me correct too. I don't play the game. Ask any of my elected officials. They all know me. Ask any elected official that I've met in Chester. They all know me. Ask any elected official from Brookhaven to Swarthmore to Aston to whatever. They all know me. Ask anybody from Delaware County Council. They all know me. Ask my state rep. They all know me. I don't do the bullshit. I don't have time for the game. Everybody's, well, Rich, you gotta get along to in order to gain, you gotta get. I don't sell my soul. There was a time they said I was a bought off black man. I'm still working. And if I was that influential, why aren't they still paying me? I mean, I'm not even being paid at the radio station. So I wonder where they got that from. This was the contention because I was a black man speaking. Do you know that in Upper Darby Township that I am the only black man that goes to council meetings? I am. My brother used to come with me, but he passed away. And we've had several black men come in and speak from time to time. But on a consistent level, I'm the only black man that goes to council meetings. You know why? Because they don't care. It's even worse at the school board meetings. I've gone to the school board meetings where I've been maybe one or two or three black men speaking, not there for awards, not there for commendations of what my kid did and anything like that, to actually go to a meeting, listen to the budgets, listen to how much money's being spent here, being spent there, get the paperwork, bring it back, post it, put it on the page. I don't see no other black men in Upper Darby doing that. I haven't seen any black men in Upper Darby going to these meetings. None. If so, pull it up. The only time that you'll see any black men at Upper Darby Township meetings is if my brothers were there, if the nonprofit Tailor Made Vets was there. But consistently, it's me. So when people say I don't know what I'm talking about, how? I don't see you at the meetings. I don't see you seeking an understanding and trying to be a part of the solution. How? That's not a chastisement. I need people to answer that and not excuse it. Because I got so many people with so many different opinions that like to come into my page or my inbox and try to tell me something about why I am the way that I am when I'm sitting there watching the destruction and the fall and going and speaking about it. And yes, between me and that mayor, Ed Brown, I'm going to always question this man because he's unscrupulous. And this is just not my opinion. He presented himself the wrong way. Let's get why I'm here at cmpradio.net in Chester. That man stepped on my constitutional right, my 1A, my ability to speak during my trauma when I was suffering. He looked down on me like I wasn't Sugar Honey Iced Tea and decided in a conspiracy with Sean Kilkenny of the Sean Kilkenny law firm and other people whose copies of the emails that I got with the evidence that's already known that they had to change up the language inside of a council meeting to amend the minutes to include that they had a conversation about them blocking my 1A speech. This is why I get to walk around here and talk the way that I do now, because this mayor did it to me. Tried to block me. And I know he's a black man. So what? So what? This is why I fight defiantly like this man. This is why I read these books that tell me about men like that, and that they will come and that they will be gatekeepers for individuals like me. This is why my mood changed and my modus operandi changed from being contrite and wanting to, share the beauty of culture to actually having to fight for it. From being blocked from it, not by white people, by my own people, so-called. This is when this became, let me come to Chester and let me talk about what's going on in my community, but also at the same time, look here, guys, here's your history. You need to check for yourself. You need to do for self. You need to do these things for yourself. And these are just suggestions, folks. I'm not going to tell you what to do, but I'm armed with information, and the information that I'm armed with checks out. And when people tell me, hey, Rich, this is the way this is going to go down, I'll give you a warning, but I'm out. I'm going to do exactly how these people tell me, because I know they ain't lying. And they have nothing to gain by telling me the truth. They have nothing to gain by saying, hey, Rich, you know what I mean? I'm in these rooms. This is what's happening. You need to know. Tell your people. So I'll come back and I tell you guys. I come and tell you the truth. I come and tell you this. You know what you say? Oh, you don't know what you're talking about. You can't sit at home and watch a meeting. You got to go to it. You got to feel the atmosphere in it. You got to listen to how your elected officials disrespect you. And these are the children. Like, they're like in their early 30s, these kids that are asking for your vote, They're disrespectful how they talk to you. If you're in your 60s, they don't have no respect for you. They don't. They can't relate to you. They're not here to relate to you. The boy that's running, Kyle McIntyre, he already said it. I'm here for this. I relate closely to the LGBT community. He can't relate to the black homeowner. He can't relate to the single black mom with kids. He can't relate to black men who are on child support. He can't relate to black men that have been incarcerated and have to come home and struggle. But this is the man that says I'm a change and make things better for you. But all down this post, all he talk about is what he going to do for his community. But y'all go ahead. I know the man. I know what he going to do. And that's a big fat nothing. Nothing. I'm saying it now. I'm calling it now. So when you elect him, I'm telling you what he's going to do. A big fat nothing. Nothing. Oh, they're going to give you little sprinkles. They're going to give you some jimmies. You'll get one or two things. You'll get a nice, neat program. But this is Upper Darby Township. They ain't changing. See, Chester has changed. I'm going to tell you how Chester has changed, because it's absolutely more inclusive when I see them putting programs out, with the exception of that homeowners program that they put out late. Shame on whoever had that information and put that information out late about the home buyers. What's the name? I tagged you on it like about a week and a half ago. It was something about first-time home buyers or investing in Chester. Yeah,
Microsoft. But that program is ran. That's probably CCIP. And that pie.
Yeah, but
she's very good.
Listen, I'm not saying that's wrong with it. Right. I'm saying the information was received late.
Yeah, I've been trying to talk to her about.
Yeah, right. So my thing is this. Like I said, it's a great. I'm not knocking it. Right. But you can't expect people to be participating if you're just releasing the information. You know what I'm saying?
I say it all the time.
That's not. Again, it's not fair.
It's not that it's not.
No, bro, it's not fair.
It's not that it's not fair. It's actually, you feel me? People think that maybe they have more power than someone else, right? And that's not your lane. That's what I say more than anything. Okay. So just allow people to do what they do.
Man, look here. If you're working for the public, ain't no power in you. Your empowerment is making sure that the people get the right information in a timely fashion so they can activate themselves.
Everybody doesn't. But for a fact, I'm tired of hearing that. Being where you are,
listen, bro, I'm tired of hearing
that people don't understand that. You have to show.
I know you. I know. That's why I talk.
Absolutely.
That's why I speak.
You have to show them.
That's why I speak the way that I do. It's
show
no affront to your work.
No.
Your work speaks for itself.
Yes.
It was a very well put together program.
Right.
Okay, it was very well.
And the
put together program.
CCIP, their whole process is very.
Listen, that's not what I'm saying.
Right.
And I'm not chiding.
Right.
I don't know her. I'm not chiding her, so I'm not correcting her.
Okay.
I'm just stating for the record, through careful observation and people contacting me, when did this happen?
Share this information.
Right.
I get that.
When did this happen? Right. I'm a person, as soon as I saw it, I share it.
Right.
Like how I come on to cmpradio.net when I'm not on.
Right.
I come on and hit following and then share it.
Right.
It may not be a program for me.
Right.
But
it might hit somebody. I'll be trying to tell people that.
It might hit somebody, so I share it.
First started the radio station, we said if you have a show on the radio station, you should be sharing all the content that comes off the radio station. We can't build a network for your show if you're not willing to build a network for someone else's show. You feel me? Like, and I'm
gonna say this, but when me and my brothers came together in Tailor Made Vets, that was the premise, because each one of the brothers that were in my organization at the time before my brother passed away had their own thing going. And we set that rule. One of our bulls was into poetry, slam poetry, stuff like that. Right. We shared his content.
You got to share your content.
We shared it. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Individually
we have another brother.
And the group shared.
Dr. John Taylor was a Marine, and he had his whole thing with the Marine Corps League and everything like that. Shout out to Dr. John Taylor. You know what I mean? We shared that. Right. He was responsible for the statewide podcast for veterans, specifically Marines, but for veterans. And this podcast got started by him in his house with me and my brother on the show. Right. And I shared it. If somebody came to me, the people I'm partnered with, Recovery Without Barriers, Patricia Bennis and what she does, Grand Stepping Up. Right. A great organization. Grand Stepping Up, a great organization. Man, they reach out for anybody. This woman reaches out for anybody. Oh, another one, Harvest Porch. Harvest Porch in Lansdowne. They get pallets of vegetables, bro. Pallets. Tomatoes, cucumbers, all types of vegetables. And of course, it's about to expire, but you pick through what's ain't, you know what I mean? Right. And you chop that vegetable, that fruit up, put it in your freezer, smoothie. How you think I lost 15 pounds? Harvest Porch in Lansdowne. Right. They had the croissants. They had the croissant dough from Disney World. Right. And it's gluten-free. Right. Man, I got a bag of them Jones. Rolled it out. Right. I got a bag of peaches. I had a ton of peaches.
Some peach turnovers.
I made myself. Man, come on. Come on. We have avenues, and I tell women this, and I tell some men this. Y'all need to stop playing with the cooking thing and making meals and this I ain't got time to cook. That's a lie. That's a lie. That's a lie. That's a lie. That's a lie.
I don't know. See, a lot of people don't know how to manage their time, though.
Bro, all you got to do
can't just tell somebody it's a lie without telling them how you manage your time.
Turn the TV off, number one. How about that? If you, listen, bro, you could cook a whole meal in an hour. Yes, you can. Yeah. Yes, you can. It
depends on what you're cooking.
Bro, you can cook a meal in an hour. Spaghetti only takes 25 minutes. Right. Okay? Spaghetti only takes 25 minutes. You brown in the sauce. You got to, chop your onion, green pepper, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Brown your meat, drain your meat. Right. You throw it in a jar of sauce. Stop playing. You're not doing it straight Italian. You throw it in a jar of sauce, blah, blah, blah. You putting that stuff in there. You boiling on some pasta. A spaghetti meal should not be cooked when your kids get home. That should already be ready because you're already home. I'm talking about if you're already home. I'm not talking about those parents that got to leave out from work first and then get home even after their kids come home. I understand those situations. I'm talking about the people that I know they got time and they microwaving meals. And you wonder why the health of your kid is the way that it is. Stop playing, okay? These kids are jacked up with so many processed food in their system that it is changing the attitude based upon a diet. Oh, yes, it is. Oh, yes, it is. And people are not seeing what I'm posting up about your biometric energy and the food you putting inside your body and the lifestyle that you're leading and how the government is using Wi-Fi to track you. They don't even need your phone anymore. If you're not understanding about the fractal antenna that's inside of your DNA structure and how they've been basically tracking us from the very beginning down to our cellular structure. Come on, bro. People just really don't get it.
No, they
But
don't.
but I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna say this. The violence in our schools have to be combated on a level where the school in Upper Darby, township in Upper Darby, have to come together in partnerships with participating people, not just the people you like, and work on meaningful ways to get our children and engage them in a positive fashion. Some of us can handle some of the hard hits. See, this is the whole thing, bro. A lot of them are trying to say, oh, we don't need you. We can handle this. We can turn this hard case around. You ain't from that hard cases environment. He gonna play you. Some of us already know how these young men are trying to, be goofy and play us. And we know how to put an end to that just by the tone of our voice. You don't have that. And this is what I try to explain to them. Some of these young men are only going to respect the authority of a strong black man because that's what they're actively seeking. That's what they're actively seeking. They reject you because you're not the image that they want. And I keep telling them that. And they keep saying, hey, Richie, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, y'all gonna see what I'm talking about. Y'all gonna see what I'm talking about next weekend. You're going to see about a success story of a kid from the class of 2020 next weekend. You're going to see that uniform on that young man. You're going to see the glory of where he came from and what he had to experience as a young black kid in Upper Darby Township. And you're going to see the fulfillment of his dreams by next weekend. I'm going to put that on display. I'm going to show you how a parent raising a child make sure that their child achieves their dreams, even through personal sacrifice to themselves. Because I think that that's what needs to be showcased. The fact that we have that all around everywhere, but we don't celebrate that part of the aspect of watching a child go from high school to a career starting life where they get involved and serve their community for real. So these are the stories that have to be rolled out. We have to push more positiveness about us, instead of letting these stories, reflect who we are in general. The reason why I put that video up was to dispel all of the stereotypes. You're not going to sit up here and claim this. You're not going to sit up here and try to inject this. You're not going to try to put it, we're going to put this exactly where this is. This comes from the home. This is home upbringing. This is what people allow. This is what the school is not cracking down on. This is what the school is not getting, because we have the same problem for the past 15 years for September into October. This is a known fact, and you can go back and research it. So I'm not knocking you, school district. It's the truth, and you got to face it. And like I told them before, you have to eat this. You got to eat it, because it's not on the cops. It's not on the police. When they're there, especially when they're there for another reason. They weren't there for these kids. They weren't there to stop a fight. They weren't there to slam these kids to the ground. They weren't there to put them up against the car. And I'm not caping for Upper Darby police, but I'm not going to sit up here and let somebody from the outside sit up here and tell this police department that's never shot a black kid in the back, that's never had an unjustified shooting when it comes to black people, because this is the township I live in, this is the township I roll in. So let's call it the truth. Let's call it the truth. They don't have those issues. So when you see that, they didn't even pull a taser out. They didn't even pull out pepper spray. They didn't use no chemical. That was brute force to put somebody on the ground and restrain them. If they got what they get, a skin knee. Some antiseptic was applied before they were put in the cell. I promise. They were medically treated. They didn't lose their life. They didn't lose a limb. No family member had to come up and say, why you shoot my baby? Why you stun gun him? But you got people calling people that were there for a specific reason to protect the lives of everybody. Now they got to be racist. Y'all need to stop listening to these people that want to destroy your country and everything that your ancestors built. Y'all better stop listening to people that keep telling our kids that being black and understanding English and being able to read and being able to do math is racist. We come from a group of people who were denied the right. They were denied. Their tongues were cut out, their hands cut off, fingers cut off, burned. That's racism. That's racism. Whipped, drawn and quartered. You know, when they tie your leg up, tie your hands up, and the horses go four ways. That's what happened to our ancestors for learning to read, write, and do math. But are you not forgetting that we're the people that put people on the moon based upon our moon calculations? Those brave women? Are y'all forgetting that? Are you forgetting that? Are you forgetting the literary works of some of our greatest novelists and poets and poet laureates? Are we forgetting that? Are we forgetting that Benjamin Banneker designed Washington, D.C., and that design has gone all across the world in different countries, and that same design from that brilliant black mind? Are we forgetting about George Washington Carver, who was illiterate but basically came up with thousands of uses for the peanut? And when asked how did he come across all this and he was not educated, and he said God, the God in him, taught him how to do this, told him how to do it. That inner spirit, that inner belief. Are we supposed to forget W.E.B. Du Bois? Are we supposed to forget all of these black heroes that didn't have the opportunities because they had to go to black colleges to get educated? Because remember, Harvard and Stanford wasn't accepting us. They weren't. That's racist. I don't care who signed off on $500 million for HBCUs. Thank you. Thank you for taking money from these secular colleges that are paying immigrants to come to their schools and educating them. Thank you for taking that money from them, from Stanford and Harvard, and giving it to the HBCUs. I don't care. As long as they got the money. That's how I feel about it. I don't care. As long as they got the money. Because I have a granddaughter that goes to a HBCU. So yes, thank you. Thank you. Because it's needed. It doesn't matter where it comes from. How about that? It doesn't matter where it comes from as long as these schools get funded. How about that? But we're so worried about who's giving the money. Really? If that was the case, and I'm going to say this again, how come these schools wasn't funded during the times of certain other people being in office? Where was that money then? Because I ain't hear nothing on the news that HBCUs got money during certain people's tenure as president. I didn't hear nothing about that. And that's not caping for the man. I'm just saying.
Caping for who?
Current president. That's not caping for the man. That's putting it in perspective. Where was the money for HBCUs during the tenure of other presidents? Where was it? I'm going to tell you where it was. It was in a vote in Congress because they had to keep voting to fund HBCUs. It was always a vote. It was always a vote. They kept voting. They kept voting.
So doesn't that mean that the Congress is more okay with another president giving it to make him look a different kind of way?
No. How about why do we have to keep voting to send money to HBCUs?
You got to vote to send money anywhere.
No. HBCUs funding is the only funding that's voted on in a full house in Congress. Stanford and Harvard never had to get a vote to receive funding. Okay? I mean, I'm just calling it the way it is.
And you said you don't understand why?
Oh, I understand. Oh, well, listen, I'm being sarcastic. I'm being sarcastic, bro. Like, come on. I know why. And I want people to understand why. It shouldn't matter It should, at this point, does it matter? Like, for real. If we're to advance, you got the money. Hold on. When our people left these places, they took the riches and the spoils from their oppressors. Did anybody say, oh, you got that money from massa? We can't use that. You really think somebody said that? You really think somebody said, these are slave wages? I ain't taking that. You really think that that's what they said? These towns were built off of slave wages, bro. Black cities was built off of slave wages, just like it was built off of slaves' backs. Somebody had to do something with dirty money. That's not done here in Chester. That's not done in Upper Darby. That's not done in Philly. People don't do nothing with dirty money. You kidding me? You kidding me? See, I like I said, as a keen observer and a person with an opinion, I'm here to break down the stereotypes and all of the challenges to the rules and break it down to a common sense thing back to the people. Tell me I'm wrong.
No.
Listen, I love the challenge. Tell me I'm wrong. Because if I was so wrong, why does this continuously happen in the 20-year cycle that I've been on this planet? Why does this turnaround that I see every decade, every 10 years, there's a constant recycle of the same problem? You know why? Because somebody is benefiting off of the misery of our people. And all you have to do is see is who's getting rich. There's your problem. There's your problem. The people who come down here and spend 15 minutes to an hour with you in your, at your event, stuff like that, not knocking it, but I'm just saying, your photo op people, they want to come down and smile. They want to, here, let me spend $20 on, the stand and third, and then go around and take pictures. And then an hour later, they gone. And you might see them next month. But here you are every day putting together a program for the youth. Here you are every week putting the program together for the community. Here you are every month wondering how cmpradio.net is going to influence the community in October. What do we got in store? What's coming up next? You know what I mean? What's the game plan? That's pressure. And to do it for the love of the people, people don't understand the commitment that it takes. It's not an easy thing running a radio station. It's not an easy thing to put together numerous segments and programs for a podcast. Just like it's not easy to build a nonprofit. Just like it's not easy to build a community-led base of people who are activists, environmentalists. It's not easy. It's dealing with different people's emotions. It's dealing with different people's perspectives. But like I tell people, I read a book called Understanding Yourself and Others. I suggest that you go get it and read it. Please. It'll help your life. It really will. This book, Thomas DeWitt, something like that. It's a book that breaks down the personalities, characteristics, and habits of people. It'll give it to you plainly. And when you read through that book, everybody in your life is going to come up. Because first you're going to understand you, and then you're going to understand everybody else. I promise you that book will open up your eyes. It ain't a black book. It ain't a white book. It's a corporate book. It's for corporations. It's for government officials. It is. I'm dead serious. This is a book that they give you for training in order to deal with people. And I believe that every government official should read this book. You'll be able to handle your constituents better. You won't be so argumentative. You won't think that somebody is coming to hurt your feelings or talk about you in a malicious way, you will understand that people speak with passion. They speak with a certain pride. They speak from a certain point of view. They speak from a certain point of hurt. They speak from a certain point of remembrance of being ignored, pushed to the side, totally disrespected. You'll understand that, and you'll be able to adjust yourself. But see, again, you have folks who have egos, and they got giant egos. I am a giant ego killer. That's what I do. Because you should not be so haughty when it comes to the people. You should be not so puffed up when it comes to the people. You should understand that the criticism that you're going to take as an elected official, that comes with the territory. I know that as an activist. I know that as a person where people come and critique me all the time. And I tell them all the time, I'm not responsible for your life. Why are you critiquing me? I make no legislation against you. I don't levy any taxes. I don't put people in danger by not informing them of when there's troubled times or street closures or anything like that. I don't do that. But when people have questions, I say, oh, go talk to the mayor. That's what they did with the old mayor. Anytime something went wrong in Upper Darby, remember before Barbara Ann Keffer was elected and before Ed Brown was elected, everybody was like, oh, go call Tom McCozy. Call Mayor McCozy. They would tag this. Listen, they would tag this. When he was mayor, they would tag the hell out of him. Tag him. I know his wife was like, turn the phone off. You know what I mean? But you know something about this man? And this is what people don't understand. He would answer you. I'm serious. That man would answer you. These other two mayors, you don't get no answer. Ed Brown sits up there like this. With his, hold on, let me show you. I got to do this impression of this man.
Who that?
Ed Brown. Eyes wide open. If I thought otherwise, you know what I'm saying? Them jaws is like this. And he just stares at you. He don't answer nothing. You ever have a mayor not answer you? I've never in the history of mayors, this is absolutely one of the worst. And when I tied in the fact that yes, he's a school board president, so now not only are you in charge of the sixth largest municipality in the entire state of Pennsylvania, you had a taste at being school district president. You know these kids. You know how these kids are. But you got no answers for public safety. They have no answers for public safety, bro. And that's the worst part about it, is that somebody gonna wind up either doing something to these kids or these kids are gonna wind up doing something to you because, again, this is what you're seeing. This is the attitude every day, almost every day after school at that high school. So we do have to get it together. So in short, folks, I'm about to leave you with this. I have my notes for when
Thank you, Lorraine. Lorraine Co sent 20 stars. Appreciate you.
Hey. That's the young man. That's the young man I was talking about for coming up next weekend. That's his mother. That's his mother. You know what I mean? Like, again, you're talking about a person living in an all black community, raising a mixed heritage child, and having to go through those types. Again, this is what I don't understand. Some of y'all know that some of our children are and I hate saying part black. I hate saying that. I really do. I hate saying that. Mixed heritage. We have mixed heritage children that hear you guys talk about the other side of their lives, and that's just not cool. Because they were brought onto this planet in love, regardless of the skin color of their parents. And we keep hearing this same black and white hatred. This same black and white hatred, and they're torn. They're torn. Like, bro, listen, I've had conversations where they got to reconcile with the white side of them because the black side tells them that the white people ain't S. And then the white people say, you half black. Da, 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 da. Is that their fault? But we still dealing with that. We've been dealing with that since mulattoes and octoroons. Like we've been dealing with this shade. We've been dealing with this shady stuff for years. But I got to leave you folks with this. I made notes about my meeting when I talked about Upper Darby Rising and was not included in the conversations to help these kids. I was not put in the part of the program. So no, I do not have an opinion about what the school district is going to do next. I do have a word of caution that I will say that unless the school district does home assessments, like I said at the beginning, unless you do home assessments, you're not going to fix the problem. You need more home assessments. That's where your resources should go. What the hell is going on in these kids' homes? And then you'll be able to fix your problem at the school because you know what's going on at the homes. But that's just me. That's just my opinion. I don't care if you like it or not. That's my opinion. Other thing is that, again, the escape of Robert Smalls, the daring voyage of out of slavery. This is a very good read for your children. You can get it on Amazon. This is 1 or 2 books for your intermediate kids if they need to do a school project, middle school or anything like this. This is a very good read by Robert Kennedy Jr., illustration by Patrick Farsi. But again, it gives everything from house slave to sailor, the dimensions of the ship. It talks about him becoming at the Battle of Stono Inlet. It talks about him meeting Abraham Lincoln. It talks about how he changed a policy in Philadelphia. It talks about how he had to fight literally in the street, that he went to jail for fighting these racists. This is the story. You want to talk about a true champion fighting some racists? You really want a real story? Here you go, Robert Smalls. Robert Smalls, American hero. American hero. This is a man who saved his family, his wife, his kids, his homies, their wives, their kids. Pulled off the most daring naval espionage act ever in the United States by capturing a ship that was wanted by the Union and delivering back their cannons and their ammunition and their guns, and then getting that ship retrofitted and getting an American flag put back on it to go back down and bomb the people that held them captive. That's an American history story to me, but they ain't gonna put this to film, bro. You got to go read it. They're not gonna give this black man his props. They're not going to give that black man his props. They're going to keep giving you the slave story. I saw a clip of Cecil B. Moore. Cecil B. Moore out of Philly, when you step off the train station, you really need to go look at Cecil B. Moore. Cecil B. Moore did not say, "We shall overcome." He said, "We shall overrun." This is The Wonderful World of Rich Blye, signing off, cmpradio.net. We'll see you on the flip side.